Welcome to the Stop Coding Automation podcast, where we all get together to learn more about automation and software testing, with your host, Ajamo Adams.
Hey, it's Ajamo, and welcome to another episode of the Stop Coding Automation podcast. Today we'll be speaking with Rahul Rathore, a test automation professional, all about the latest survey from Katalon studio on the test automation landscape in 2020. Also, to get a bit more understanding about Rahul's thoughts on where the testing industry is heading. Rahul has over 8 years of automation and testing experience in core areas like integration, functional, and regression testing. When it comes to automation, he has experience with tools such as JUnit, TestNG, Selenium WebDriver, and Katalon Studio. Rahul has contributed to the development of an automation framework for web-based products using Selenium RC and its migration to WebDriver, as well as exposure to Apache HTTP client library. He also worked on the testing of RESTful web services using frameworks like REST and Rest Assured. You won't want to miss this episode. Check it out. Hey Rahul, welcome to Subcoding.
Hey Ajmo, thanks for welcoming me again in this testing podcast.
Great to have you on the show again. Our last discussion was really popular, especially with the Katalon crowds, on just what can be done with Katalon, and the way you went through things really helped so many new, especially the newer starters, on the tool and what it can do. This survey has been causing waves in the automation community, and I can't wait to jump in. But before we go any further, did I miss anything in the intro you would like to share with the show?
No, I think that was a wonderful introduction of mine. You cover everything, starting my experience over the tools and everything.
Okay, that's awesome. To kick things off, can you tell us about the general automation experience from the years 2018 to 2020?
Yeah, so before we start with that discussion, let me talk a little bit about this Katalon survey. So Katalon Studio team has done a fantastic job by doing this survey and releasing its report. This survey was done in the month of August, September, and the result was published a couple of weeks back. So the result was published in the form of a report, and this report will give you the insight into the trend around the automation testing and the tools which are used for the automation. This report also includes what are the new features which are going to be in demand in future from an automation tool. In order to get the free copy of this report, you can go to the official website of the Katalon Studio. Now coming back to the question. So this section of reports highlight the comparison between the year 2018 and 2020 for the number of years the company have adopted the automation for their project. In the year 2018, 18% of the cases are there where there is no automation involved. This figure is reduced to 13% in year 2020. And it clearly explains that there are companies that are not using the automation for their project in the year 2020. Which is very sad. In the year 2018, 21% of the cases are there in which companies have adopted the automation from the past 1 to 3 years. And this figure increases to 37% in the year 2020. In the year 2018, 11% of the cases are there in which companies have adopted the automation from the past 5 years. And this figure increases to 15% in the year 2020. So from this analysis, we can easily understand that there are some companies we are still not using the automation in their project, but also looking at the percentage, a lot of companies have started implementing the automation in their project after looking at their advantages.
That's something that really jumped out to me, what's going on when it comes to how some companies are doing it. All of this have grown in the last few years. I think it really shows where automation is going. Has your team applied CI, CD, and DevOps practices to your projects?
Yeah, so this section of reports provide the data for the CI/CD or DevOps adoption by the companies. So out of if you look at the reports data, there are 75% of cases which have adopted this process, whereas 25% have not. The high DevOps adoption rate also leads to the increase in applying the test automation. So we already know the advantage of having a CI/CD pipeline in the project. If you don't have a CI/CD implementation, there is a huge gap in your delivery pipeline, which can compromise the quality of the product. But after looking at the data, I see 75% of the company has adopted the CI/CD pipeline. That means they know that how CI/CD pipeline is important for their project.
CI/CD is something I always preach about when it comes to automation. I think it's the only way you can really get your projects to a DevOps level. That's something that's needed.
Yeah, that is a must needed in the testing pipeline.
That will speed everything up. It will create opportunities for testers to do other things. So as a whole, it's one of the main things I tend to push within my discipline and within my company. It's one of the first things I try to get up and running, because a lot of the time, especially for newer projects or greenfield projects, CI/CD is something that can get incorporated from the beginning. So it just makes that application a lot more fluent in the way it's tested. So that's something that I'm a big advocate for.
Yeah, and if you have CI/CD pipeline plugged in into your environment, you will get immediate feedback about your test. The moment someone pushes any changes into the feature, you get immediate feedback about that, like due to code changes, is there any regression is there or not, and so on.
Just very recently, I was working on a project with a team, and we are working on getting their unit tests lined up within part of the CI/CD and integration tests, and after that, obviously, some of the end-to-end tests. And it's just so important. And I make sure and highlight to the business that this needs to get done, and it needs to be part of that flow to get that continuous development, which is so important.
Yes, I agree with you.
Top 20 automation testing tools used by respondents within this survey.
So this is very interesting section of the report. It gives you an overall picture of top 20 automation tool present in the market. If you look at the data, the Selenium framework is still the first choice for automation tool among the engineers, but Katalon Studio is not far behind in this race. Katalon Studio is the second choice for the automation tool among the engineers. The increase in the popularity of Katalon Studio is due to the variety of feature it provides for test automation, and that too out of the box. Also, Katalon Studio has strong community support. It has its own community forum where you can post the question and get the solution for your problem. So if anyone is looking for a new tool to implement the automation in their project, they should definitely look at this report and then decide on the tool.
Katalon Studio have come so far compared to when I just started to use it. And now the community is growing. It's really coming in really well. I know obviously Selenium is the foundation of most end-to-end tests. And we all know that Katalon Studio is built on Selenium and a few other technologies. It's so nice to see how far it have come, even in this survey, how many people are adapting, whether it be the free version or the enterprise version, right?
The variety of solution which Katalon Studio provide, that is the reason why it is gaining popularity. So now you have Katalon Studio Enterprise Edition, which provide a lot of other features. You have Katalon Studio Runtime Engine. They have integrated with the DevOps pipeline also. They provide you the Docker support also. And as I mentioned earlier, the community support is so strong that you just need to post your question, and definitely there are some people who is going to reply on your question. Definitely they are going to suggest some workaround to solve your problem. And in fact, if you are the license user, there is a dedicated team which will be assigned to you, so they can solve your problem immediately on a higher priority basis.
And that's what makes it the way it is right now. It's really needed, especially with the speed companies want automation implemented now. We all know that in the past, a few years ago, Selenium was king. And usually in my experience, you would see like a developer make all the code creation for Selenium and run this against their application. Whereas now businesses want almost anyone really putting together automation scripts or even basic ones. And this is something that I always talk about, obviously, when it comes from the manual testing side and getting manual testers upskilled into using tools like Katalon Studio, because it just makes things so much easier and it fits into the model of the current industry when it comes to speed.
And also there are a lot of materials available over the net where you can learn the Katalon Studio without paying any money from your pocket. It's just a freely available thing.
So what is the top 5 tools most used across different applications on the test?
Well, this is one of the another section which I like from the report. This section of reports give you the data about the top 5 tools used for testing different types of application. As you are an automation engineer, you need to test and automate those use cases for different application. For example, if there is a web application, in that case, I need to write the UI automation. If the web application is using some backend services for presenting the data to the user, in that case, I need to write the automation for API service. Now these days, all the applications application which are developed, they are compatible with the mobile platform also. So in that case, I need to write the automation script for the mobile platform. In some cases, we need to write the desktop automation script for the same application. So in this scenario, an automation engineer must test the same application on different platforms. And it is always a good choice to have a tool which allow you to do the testing on different platforms. If you have a different tool for different platform, then it becomes very difficult from the maintenance perspective. So looking at the reports data, Selenium still holds the first position, but here again, the Katalon Studio is not far behind because of the varieties of features provided, and that too out of the box.
Yes, Katalon still provides that. I know there is other codeless automation tool solutions out there, but going back to the webinar I did with Katalon a few weeks ago, in my experience, businesses tend to gravitate to Katalon. I think the free element is always a pull at first, just to try it out. And then if you needed advanced tooling or features, obviously you will look to the paid version. But in my experience, even the free version have so much to offer.
That's correct. I think you can use the same tool as like in our last webinar, we already discussed about this, but you can use the same tool for automating the UI as well as the mobile as well as the web services. So you get everything in one tool.
In your words, what's the importance of criteria when choosing an automation tool?
So basically, this part of the report describes the data which is used while selecting an automation tool. So they have come up with 11 parameters. Out of the 11 parameters, top 5 parameters are security, integration capabilities, scalability, available materials, report and analytic capability. Now out of this top 5, security, integration capabilities and scalability are the most important factor. So when I'm going to choose a specific automation tool, I will keep all these 3 points in my mind before selecting that tool. Security is the highest priority, with 41% of users answered that it is a crucial part for their consideration. Security has always been one of the biggest concerns in IT, as stated in the World Quality Report 2019-20 by Capgemini. Integration capability and scalability also an important thing. QA testers and professionals also pay a lot of attention to integration capabilities and scalability when they are selecting a tool for their team. They are looking for a tool with a wide variety of features that meet their organization need while continue keeping test generation and maintenance simple. So these are the 5 factors which, if you ask from my side, I will keep in mind before I'm selecting a tool for an automation.
Very important. These things should be the cornerstone before choosing any tool for your project, because different projects might require different requirements. Always so important to look at what you just said there and make sure it's the right tool for you.
And you need to be very selective in selecting the automation tool, because once you have the automation tool and you start experimenting with that, after a period of time, you cannot go back and just do everything again with a new tool. It takes a lot of effort. So the choice of tool has to be correct one so that it can use in the project for long run.
Yes, you need to do your due diligence. You need to do your due diligence even before you start to use the tool, in my experience. Because as testers and as technical people, sometimes we can get a bit excited and decide, right, we see a new tool and we'll think, oh, this is nice and cool, I'll just jump in and use this, without really going through and having a real good think about what you really need for your project. So I think it's so important to go through your requirements, all the acceptance criteria just for your tooling. Have your discussions with your team members or whomever you need to before really trialing any, because time is money at the end of the day, and you don't want to be using something that you really shouldn't be used at all for what you want it to do.
Yeah, I don't want to use a tool where after maybe 2-3 years, I need to just retire that tool and look for other alternative.
This goes beyond Katalon or anything. This goes in general. This is straightforward advice for anyone who is looking at automation and automation tooling. Always do your due diligence before you even select one. Get your short list, check your pros and cons, and make sure it's the right one for you.
And sometimes this becomes little hard because the application currently which are getting developed are multi-platform. So that is also becomes a little challenging in the selection of the tool, like what tool you will be using for automation, as the application is going to supported by different platforms.
How would you rank the automation techniques that are expected to be developed further in the industry?
Now, this is the best part of the report. So under this section of the report, you will find that what are the expected feature to be available in automation tool in the future. This part of the report describing the top 7 feature which can be the next big thing in the software automation industries. So I'm going to just talk about one by one. The first one is the automated test and prioritization. If we have this kind of feature in which the automation tool automatically prioritize the test based on the highly affected module due to the code change, that will be the accelerating automating testing. The other one is the automated test case generation. Automated test case generation will play a prominent role in the future of software testing, which allows QA code to reach the testing stage faster and improve the coverage. The third one is the test environment virtualization. Test environment virtualization provide a possible solution for creating and optimizing the complicated execution environments. Through the virtual test environments, tester can easily test the software with all possible configuration on a single hardware system. The other key factor which can contribute to the future of any automation tool are headless automation, robotic process automation, automated test case design, and automated test data generation. So these are the top 7 features which everyone is looking in future in an automation tool.
In the report, the fact that mobile is not even in the top 5 automated test types was so surprising to me, especially seeing how, according to a recent Leftronic.com survey that says 66% of the internet today is used with mobile devices. So that was such a surprise to me. And I think it's something that for all who's listening to this podcast right now, we really need to think about it, because I've worked in so many projects that really focuses more than anything else on the desktop application. And now people are going more and more to mobile devices.
I completely agree with you. Like, the future is mobile. So we need to be more focused on the mobile testing as the application are slowly migrating towards the mobile platform.
Before we go, is there any actionable advice you can give someone about the findings from this extensive survey? And what's the best way to find you, contact you, or learn more about your work?
Yeah, the first thing is you can go to the Katalon official website and download this report. This report contains, so we have so far discussed only a subset of the report category, but this report contains information about much more things. So that will help you to understand what is the latest trend which is going in the automation industry. You can reach me on the YouTube channel. You can search my YouTube channel by the name as Rahul Rathore 44. The last 2 things are the numeric digits. And also, I think once you have on my YouTube channel, you have all the resources to contact me. You can drop a mail to my email ID that is listed on my YouTube page.
Thank you, Rahul, for your thoughts and brilliance. For more about this episode, head on over to stopcoding.co.uk/podcast. So that's it for another episode of the Stop Coding Automation Podcast. I'm Ajamo, and my mission is to help you succeed in software testing and automation and help you get that automation testing job. As always, keep winning, keep testing. Laters.
Thanks for listening to the Stop Coding Automation Podcast. Head on over to stopcoding.co.uk for show notes, amazing blog articles, and all you need to get that automation testing job. Don't forget to subscribe to Stop Coding to continue your testing journey.